Hey everyone, this is Tea and Politics with Maya, and I'm Maya. Very nice to have you here. Today we are following up with another interesting guest. This is the cherry on top of our EWL series that we started around the 35th anniversary of the European Women's Lobby. Today with us we have the past president of EWL, Iliana Balabanova. Hi Iliana, welcome.
Hi, actually, thank you very much for telling me that I'm a cherry. I should wear some cherry clothes. Yeah, I'm not the president of the EWL during the last 2 hours.
Yes, it's been 2 hours since the new president elected. Yeah.
And you're immediately catching me up, and so I'm here.
Yeah, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. Our audience maybe already has seen the previous episodes with Colette, Bettina, Marion, and actually I'm not going to tell everything. You can go back and see who was.
Yeah.
But the idea, what we had in mind with Mary Collins and with the rest of the comms team was more or less to try to have different angles throughout these 35 years of traveling through women's movement stories, trying to see what went wrong, what could have been better, but also to celebrate our achievements. So let's kick in. In the meantime, if you like what you're seeing and hearing, please do subscribe. And yeah, today is another episode.
Yeah, let's celebrate. Happy anniversary, European Women's Lobby.
Happy anniversary. And with Colette, we opened this new season, this new trend of wine and politics with Maya. And we're closing now with a nice red wine.
I'm following your podcast, and I must say, several times I ask myself, why only tea?
Yeah, well, it went around the tea house in the beginning, but more and more deep conversations are, I think, asking for more and more wine. So, okay, I think that it's interesting to start from the start with you. I have an extra question for the start, but how did you become a feminist? I think I was thinking about this when reviewing my questions for today.
It's a good question.
How did you realize maybe you were a feminist?
Yeah, this is better question. Because I have always been a feminist, and there was a moment I realized I am.
Mm-hmm.
So before realizing, I didn't know I am. And why I'm saying this? Because, first of all, I grew up in a small city town, even in Bulgaria. I was born in Goce Delchev, which is on the border with Greece. My mother was a teacher, and my father used to work for the Bulgarian bank at that time, the only one at that time.
Yes, the singular bank.
The singular bank. I'm coming from a family with 3 children, and I'm the little one. And my mom was actually teaching me how important is the dignity.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I'm doing, the dignity is the most important. And the dignity is going very well with feminism. Because actually, what is feminism? Feminism is to recognize the abilities and the skills and all the human skills which everybody has. So the feminism is not only for women, this is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the dignity is part of this. And I grew up by taking care about my dignity. And there was one personal moment in my life when I was very young. And I realized it was connecting to some violence. And I realized that I have so much dignity. I cannot really leave this situation in this as it is.
You cannot compromise with it.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's happened to start to work for the first non-governmental organization, which was at that time at the earliest 90s for human rights. And they sent me in Utrecht for some courses and on human rights. And I got the most interesting issue, women's human rights. And this was the moment I was very attracted. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm a feminist. And it was early 90s. So can you imagine, Bulgaria was just get out from this communistic regime. And feminism was not a word which was popular at all. Even some people have never heard about this. But being in Utrecht, in this university, and I was, am I feminist? Yes, I am. And I want to be. And I was very enthusiastic to go back in Bulgaria and to say, I am a feminist, thinking that everybody will say, wow, bravo.
Wow, I can see how that didn't go.
I was very young and innocent. Yeah, but I went to Bulgaria and I said, I'm feminist. And the reaction was, oh, really? What is wrong with you?
Okay. That's very nice feedback.
Aren't you married? I said, no, I'm married. I was already married. My marriage, my first marriage, was very young. And I said, no, I'm married. Oh, don't you have children? No, I have a son. Oh, but maybe you don't have any education. I said,
wow.
yeah, I have an education. But why you're telling me this? Because being a feminist, this is for marginalized people. And I was so shocked. You know, I didn't spend too much time in Utrecht. But you can imagine this coming from this country, Bulgaria, in a time when very few people were really being able to cross the borders and see something outside of this area, which is called Eastern European Communistic Area. And these were the first years of democracy in Bulgaria, so-called democracy, because we are in a period of transition. And to me, it was really surprising to see that how many years we need, even to accept that feminism is not a wrong word. And doesn't matter if you are married or not, if you have children or not, you have a high-level education or not. You can be a feminist because the feminism, as I said, this is the justice, this is equality, this is dignity to me. Dignity which everybody has, and everybody has respect. Should respect, must respect.
And we have a collective responsibility to safeguard.
Exactly.
I wanted to start with this question because I was thinking a lot about what it took for me to identify as a feminist. And I must say, I will be very honest, it took a while because I grew up not knowing what feminists. I don't believe I have met a self-proclaimed feminist until I was like 20 something. And then I met a lot of people who were stigmatizing feminist movements as men hatred. And I was, in a way, I didn't know what it is, but I thought that maybe that's the truth, because I didn't know what it is. But then more and more I worked on social rights and human rights and youth activism. I started to see more and more of this word coming into different places. And I was seeing people who would be happily saying that they work for women, but not call themselves feminists. And it was strange for me. And eventually I was like, but I'm okay, I need to learn more and more. And the more I learned, the more like, I actually think I'm a feminist, but why I feel uncomfortable to call myself like this? And especially in Bulgarian, and I will say I still to this day, I check the audience before I'm speaking to. And in Bulgarian, sometimes I don't feel comfortable to say I'm a feminist because I know that people will stop listening to me. And this is really a pity.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you, and this is really a problem. In Bulgaria and in some other countries like Bulgaria, when you're saying a word feminism, the first reaction is this woman hate men.
I've said this too. I have heard this. Yeah.
Yeah, she hates men. She wants to kill men. even. She's very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the problem in Bulgaria with this word? The problem is that, first of all, nobody is taking any lessons about what feminism means. Nobody knows what does it mean. Everybody knows by taking the knowledge by personal experience, or being dedicated to some special non-governmental work mainly.
Yeah.
Because if I have never, but this is a good idea actually, which is coming now in my mind. I have never made in some research how many women from the public administrations or for high-level ministerial positions are really free, let's say, to say that they are feminist.
Mm-hmm.
I will do this. Now
Okay,
it's a
that's
good idea. I'll make this research because it is interesting. If we are not talking from the high-level position as a feminist, if we don't have this as a subject in our curriculum, if we are not, if any time when in some social media we are hearing that somebody is telling something about feminism and then a massive reaction against this person are coming, it is normal, the whole society, to say, oh, the feminism is something wrong.
Yeah, the crazy
without
feminists.
knowing, without knowing what does it mean actually. So...
I'm also thinking about it, even in this podcast, but I think I've told you this in a private conversation, but when I started this podcast, I had the idea if I want to do a podcast on leadership and women, so it's going to be a feminist podcast.
Absolutely.
But then I thought that so many people would never open it because it's going to be called a feminist podcast. And then I thought about it and I asked a couple of people and most of them said, but if it's a feminist podcast, that means that it's just going to be about violence and about main hatred. And then I also started to see how many women-led podcasts, like hosted by women, with women as guests, speak about EU policy, leadership, the EU bubble. And I didn't find a lot of things. I found like separate episodes, but most when it comes to politics and to the European policy bubble, this is men speaking to other men. And it was also a moment of, okay, I'll try to do this a bit like a feminist undercover podcast, which I think for everyone who's a feminist is not very undercover. But I'm not sure what audience I'm reaching. And I'm not sure even when we have these 5 episodes, what would be the feedback. So I'm really, really interested. But okay, let's leave your feminist realization for a second. How did you end up being the president of the largest feminist organization in Europe? Because I think that there is for sure a short answer and a long answer, but I want to see what happened between the first time you joined Bulgaria and your training in Utrecht and now 2023 when your mandate started. What was the journey?
Well, let's start with with the short answer.
This we can cut.
The short answer is that it took me 20 years.
That's a very short answer, okay.
No, I spent 20 years in the European Women's Lobby. I started in 2003. Yeah, 2003 as an observer in the EWL. And then the Bulgarian Platform became a full member in 2005. And I became a member of the board of the EWL. And at that time, I was feeling... I was feeling lost. I will never forget my first board meeting when different women from different organizations, from different countries are coming and starting to speak about violence against women, but not only about the women in leadership position, women in health, women in peace. So all these areas. At that time in Bulgaria and in all the other Eastern European countries, the main issue for women's organization was violence. We started working on violence against women, and this was the only issue. And after that issue, we starting to open ourselves for all the other areas where women are not equally represented or being discriminated or not having enough rights or have this so-called glass ceiling. But the beginning was with violence.
Yeah, because it's the visible part of various systems being designed in the wrong way.
Exactly. And it is good. And maybe this is the moment to say that Bulgaria was the first country from these Eastern European countries which passed the legislation for protection and prevention against domestic violence. And then all the other Eastern European countries were just copying, paste our legislation and passing in their countries. So I went in the European Women's Lobby with this idea that Bulgaria is doing very well by having this legislation, or at that moment we just starting to lobby for this legislation. And one more brackets, it is important to be said that I think this is the first and maybe the only one legislation in Bulgaria, Act Against Domestic Violence, which has been drafted from the bottom and presented to the policymakers, to the National Assembly, to the parliamentarians. I have no information if there is another.
I have an information of one draft that's been sitting for 15 years because I took part of it. It's the legal frame, the law for volunteering. Закон за доброволчеството. It's been over 15 years. It was very grassroots organization based, but it was never accepted. So it's in a way a bad practice. I'm not sure it's a good example.
I guess it was not accepted because the European, at that time Bulgaria was in a process of accession to the European Union. And the legislation for volunteers is not part of
an urgent one, and
it's not part of the requirements to become a member. The violence against women was not part of the requirements, but was a sensitive issue. So Bulgaria, at that moment, Bulgarian politicians was working Bulgaria to become a full member to the EU, and they wanted to show to the world that we are ready. And this act against domestic violence, which they passed, was part of the portfolio, which is obviously making Bulgaria putting Bulgaria in a good frame.
Yeah.
So let's go back to my first board meeting, and I was very proud Bulgaria is doing this, so I'll now. And then I was starting to listen all the other problems which women have to cope with. Really, there were so, and I was listening, cannot believe it is really happening. And the most surprising to me was that women from Western European countries were talking about serious problem about gender pay gap, pensions, retire, health, this and that. And I was asking myself, oh my goodness, I'm coming from Bulgaria. And the idea in Bulgaria is that all these problems in Western European countries are already solved. And I realized that the problems of women are everywhere. Doesn't matter if you are Eastern European or Western European. And still, this is the situation, unfortunately. And we very recently the European Union passed the EU directive against violence against women. And not to forget that European Women's Lobby has been created 35 years ago. And one of the main goals was disharmonizing the legislation in Europe against violence against women. And it took 35 years.
Jesus.
And I think this is something that the next generation should, and scientists also, and non-governmental organizations should analyzing why it took so much years.
35 years.
35 years. The lobby, the European Women's Lobby, was lobbying for this. And finally, after 35 years, it's happened.
It's in a way, it's bittersweet. And I remember that we were very happy, obviously, but we will be happy for a while for this achievement. But it also makes you feel very insignificant. And I'm not saying this as somebody who is part of the team of the lobby, but as somebody, as a woman. I want to be more important for the policymakers. And if this is not an issue, because I can assure there has been so much political work in the last 35 years that was less important than that, but it was prioritized. Was it because there was not enough women from the inside to push for it? Was it because member states were not interested to push for it? I don't know, but the end result is that for now, this, yes, it's great and we should celebrate it, but there's also in the back of my hand is like, you're not significant enough for the policymaker. This is how I read it.
Exactly. And also, you know, the legal act, the legislation in general, it is following the real life. This is what it is everywhere. And the legislation is very much affected by the stereotypes of people. So the politicians are following the stereotypes. And what are the stereotypes about women? So
gentle, nice, kind mothers.
Exactly. And what are the stereotypes about men? They're strong.
Defenders, warriors, providers.
Yeah. And this is not from yesterday. This is coming from the centuries ago. Even in Byzantium, this is what you said. Actually, Aristotle was saying, man is strong, powerful, smart. And women, actually, when Aristotle said this, he formalizing like the human being is strong and the women are weak mothers. So we still are in this situation. And this is one of the explanations.
And this is somehow embedded and it takes a lot of unlearning, I think, both for women and men. And the problem is that actually a lot of the systems are designed in a way that this is validated.
Yeah.
In healthcare, in justice, in transportation, in legal frames, and also in violence.
Yeah.
You have a lot of different roles. So I met you when you were already a president, and I can tell the story of how we met each other, because I think it's a very funny story. I have never thought that a Bulgarian feminist will be the president of the European Women's Lobby. I knew of the European Women's Lobby because of my court case on the gender pay gap, because when I was doing my stakeholders mapping, obviously the lobby was on my map. I wanted the lobby to know that there is such a big court case in Brussels. And I remember going through the website and I was like, it's an interesting organization. And then weeks after, a friend of mine, who I know sometimes listens, so Yana, hi.
Hi, Yana.
She told me, and Yana is Bulgarian, based in a Bulgarian village in the middle of nowhere. Close to...
No, it's not in the middle of nowhere. It is near to the Bulgarian Black Sea coast. Very famous.
It's in the middle of somewhere, but it's okay in the periphery of Europe, in a very beautiful area.
Yeah.
But it's not the area where I would position in my first thoughts the president of the European Women's Lobby. And I remember she told me, Oh, there is this crazy lady. She keeps on posting in a Facebook group about feminism, and she's trying to name some of the streets in her village, and it's becoming such a scandalous situation. I think you should meet her because you remind me of each other. And I was like, okay, Yana is very kind, and I'm not interested to meet this random lady with her crazy street names and her feministic Facebook group. And I remember that at the point I realized that whoever she's talking about is the president of the European Women's Lobby. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I remember I wrote to you a very random message saying, hi, Miss President. This is me. I'm based in Brussels. I'm doing this court case on the gender pay gap. If you're ever interested to discuss about this, let's meet. And I was like, this is never going to be a good conversation. She's gonna ignore me.
She's crazy.
Sure. Yes, yeah, she's crazy on top of all. I don't know how it looked from your perspective. This.
Thank you for your honesty.
No, but I never knew that it would actually lead to us working together later on and doing this podcast a few years later. But I was so surprised that a Bulgarian is a president of this network. And it was a moment of pride. And I'm sure that a lot of other Bulgarian workers in the human rights society and in civil society have felt a certain level of pride because there is a total underrepresentation of Eastern Europe when it comes to leadership position in the EU. And I'm not afraid to say this. It's very visible. I don't know. Have you met other presidents from...
No. Actually, it's true. There are no many Bulgarian, especially Bulgarian women, who are presidents of some big coalitions in Europe.
Mm-hmm. There's also not a lot of secgens or directors.
Yeah. So that's why in 2005 and 3, when I was starting, I never thought to become a president of the European Women's Lobby. But I spent 20 years in this organization. And meanwhile, I really developed a lot. I grew up also. And I realized, first of all, we are capable to be on this position. Being Bulgarian, being Estonian, being Finnish or Hungarian, so we all are capable to be on this position. We have to believe in our abilities, skills, and knowledge because we have enough.
And we can.
And we can do this. And then I realized it is very interesting that the European Women's Lobby is an organization which is making this synergy between the women's organization from South, North, part of Europe, Eastern part of Europe, Balkan also, some organization. But always we are giving much more votes when we are voting for some position to women who are from North part and less from South part, and even less for women who are from Eastern European countries. Mm-hmm. So I started with being first a member of the executive committee. And it was, I forgot which year, but let's say it was...
sometime in the last 20 years.
So, and I learned a lot about the structural and strategical things about the EWL. And more about the European-wide organization also, because this is important. Then I became a vice president in one mandate for 2 years. And it was also very, very important for me. And after few years after, I decided why not to run for a president? And still, I didn't believe I will be elected. We had a very nice, another candidates were very capable also at that time when I was running. There was a woman from Sweden, absolutely great. So we were competitors. There was also a woman from Latvia. And I decided I'll try.
What was your inner voice telling you? What was your inner dialogue in those moments of the decision?
I was sure I can do this. There was no question about this. I was absolutely sure I can do this. And why not to try? If people, because, if you are sure you can do this, maybe you can irradiating this to the others. And maybe this is what made them to vote for me. And I have been elected with a really huge majority of, I don't remember exactly the percentage, but it was over 65, 67, near to 70, which is
But this
really
is if
huge.
more than this, it's already becoming totalitarian, and it brings another vibe. 70% is the good threshold for elections. I think.
I got a lot of questions from different, because the procedure is really very democratic. So everybody are starting with presenting as a candidate for the president of the European Women's Lobby. They present themselves. We have a limited time to present ourselves. We then have some time for questions and answer from the board. Then we have a vote. And then after the vote, we have to have a real majority. And at the first round of voting, we had really very little differences between me and the other candidate. The candidate from Lithuania, she withdrew herself. And then only this candidate from Sweden and me from Bulgaria, we left. And there was a very little difference. And we have to continue with voting, the second round. So I had the second round. And between this first and second round, there were another questions. And you have to really show that, first of all, you know very well the organization. Secondly, you know the problems inside, outside. Third, you know the wishes and desires of the members. Fourth, you know also what is the ecosystem outside, European Union, global trends, all these things. And it was 2023 when this election was. And
after the pandemic,
the war was happening. And the first trend of, not the first, but actually the first strong impact of the far right conservative waves were really coming. And so it was a very interesting process. Until the end, I was not really sure that I'll become president. But I was sure that if I became, I'll be a good president.
Nice. But this is this confidence that you have.
Yeah.
I think it's true that when you radiate it, people find this as an authentic proclamation of your desire to lead. And it's very important to have that.
Yeah, you have to, when you're running for something, doesn't matter what. You have to be sure that you can do this. This is my... And the other was why I was doing this. Why I was running, because I was absolutely, to me was no question how much work it will cost, how much time it will cost, really a lot, efforts, a lot. So I was thinking, okay, Iliana, you have to do this because this is a model for all the other, first, Bulgarian member organization in the Bulgarian platform, to show them that they can do this, but also for all the other Eastern European countries. We still are a little bit how to say?
We are underestimating ourselves. I can say it if you don't want to say it. We are underestimating ourselves.
Yeah. And we have to stop to do this. We have to stop to do this. We are already so many years in the European Union. We came with our culture. We came with our language, with our experience as a women being living part of our life, or our mother was spending their life in the communistic regime. And now we are in this Bulgarian democracy.
Good noun.
So we have our experience and we have what to give.
Yeah. I think that there is a percentage of actual underestimating, but there is also what the environment is feeding back to you. Because I must say, when I was SecGen in my previous
Yeah.
job, I have not met any other Bulgarian or Romanian for that matter. And I've met one Croatian, and we're still to this day in touch, who is in a really high position. And it's not only about you not feeling confident, because I don't think I had problems with my own confidence per se, but it was just what the environment is feeding back to you, and the environment is feeding back to you. There's nothing like you there. You either need to be you need to be something else. This is what the environment is feeding you, as a woman, as an origin, backstory, everything. And I think that there is the true value of role models such as yourself is that people see you. That's it. That's just what sometimes it's needed.
Yeah. But this is bringing me also to the fact that the environment is making you and you're making the environment. So this is a two-way process. And of course, if you are seeing that the whole environment is saying that some part of this continent need a little bit more to reach some high level position, you really have to say yes, maybe, but we are so different and we are also ready to show ourselves and to lead this or another organization. And now I want to say something which is really interesting. Whenever I'm saying, introducing myself, I'm Iliana Balabanova, and I am the president of the biggest umbrella organization in Europe, European Women's Lobby, which is working on women's rights. There is a moment of silence. So it is obvious my English is not native, which is not common for this position. Bulgaria. Where was Bulgaria? Exactly. Yeah. It is European Union country. Great. Super. Yeah.
With the capital of Bucharest.
Oh, sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then very often after my speech, people are coming and asking me, do you live in Brussels? And I said, no, I'm actually live in Bulgaria, but I travel a lot because of my position as a president, which is true. And they said, oh, so you live in Bulgaria? I said, yeah. Oh, maybe you live in the capital. No, I don't live in the capital. I live in near to Varna. Near to Varna, Black Sea. It is known.
But now, because of this interview, they will know it's not even Varna.
And then I'm saying, no, I live in a small village. This is how we met with you. near to Varna. And it is true, I used to live in Sofia. And it is easy to live in Sofia because this is easy to reach the institutions. Yeah. But when I moved in this small village near to Varna, I realized that if you have, because this is actually the idea of the Bulgarian platform of the European Women's Lobby, if you have the members from all over the country, you can always delegate some meeting in Sofia, in Veliko Trnovo, in this city.
Outside of
Yeah.
yeah.
No, always need me as a president to be there. And this is really good. But the other thing, because we are talking about the stereotypes about Eastern European women who are on a high level position in these European-wide organizations and networks, very often somebody is telling me, oh, I know another Bulgarian who is, let's say, a lawyer in some commission or something.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard, let's say, French woman to meet another French woman and to say, oh, I know another French woman who is never. They're not even.
Because it's not an exceptional
Yeah.
thing to say.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you mean. And I think that even if we also see there are other Eastern Europeans, but they're not on executive position. And that's, to me, the problem to me is actually not that much nationalistic problem or something that. But when you work on policy making for the whole union, and you claim that you want to do really a representation of values, diversity, and you really mean it, and you walk the talk, you have to have diverse teams. And that doesn't only mean geographically, ethnically, gender-wise. It also means disabilities. It also means the variety of disabilities that there is.
Exactly.
It also means the diversifying. It's a very classist thing, I'm going to say, sorry. But a lot of the people who are doing policy making are amazingly privileged. And I am as well. I have spent a lot, like 12 years of my career working with really people coming out of poverty or being stuck in poverty. And I can very boldly claim I have a good understanding professionally what they're coming from. And I could work on social rights because of that. Not because I myself have been through that, but because I really went in deep and I have talked to enough people. I keep on talking to enough people. And to me, knowing this is really difficult to see how somebody who is not going out of this, doesn't have the lived experience, and comes from quite privileged background, can work on migrants, refugees, poverty, homelessness. Yes, you can read a lot about it, but your lived experience and your professional experience adds to something different. And if you also remove this and you add the geographical context, which lacks half of Europe, because Eastern Europe is quite big.
Yeah.
You end up with very privileged and adequate policy measures. And to me, this is the problem. And this has been my fight for a while now. I'm not sure I'm quite successful in vocalizing this, because I know that not a lot of people like to engage in this. But I'm going to use, as you are, I think, more or less on my side in this conversation. But it is important to have equal representation of Eastern European experts when we do stuff in Europe.
Yeah, and we have excellent experts. Mm-hmm. They're really good, just brilliant. Mm-hmm. But I think also this is a problem in us. We have to show that we can do this. We have to believe in ourselves, not to be shy, not to be immediately putting us in a secondary position. Mm-hmm. We have to show that we are experts. And then the world, like in my case, is just see that.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You as an expert, you're an expert in many different roles. So I have seen you deliver trainings. I've seen you write projects. I've seen you as a president of the lobby. I've seen you as a co-founder of the Bulgarian Platform. So you do advocacy. I've seen you give press releases. So from all of the things that a feminist leader has to be, is there like a particular one that you really enjoy? That is the one that you would choose if you didn't have to do everything 24/7?
Okay, it is true, but this is because my nature, I cannot sit for long without doing anything. But I love to challenge myself, and this is how I really develop some skills and some knowledge by going in some area which actually challenging me. Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I'm a co-founder and a president of the Bulgarian Platform of the European Women's Lobby. Yes, since between the 2023 till a few hours ago, I was a president of the European Women's Lobby. I was a researcher. I am a researcher. This is something which is giving me a lot of pleasure. Being a freelancer and working on a different research projects focus on gender equality on a different area. Like, for example, one of the great pleasure I had when I was hired to analyze the resilience plan after COVID for Bulgaria from the perspective of the gender equality. And this was really great pleasure because I was not surprised that there was nothing about gender equality. But it was really pleasure to read all these 136, or I don't remember how many pages in this resilience plan, and to see how gender blind is the politics, are the politics and policies, especially when we are all after COVID in this really vulnerable situation. So they were talking about kindergarten, but they are not even mentioning women who, and men also, because gender equality is about. Anyway, so this is one of the pleasure I have, but I cannot live only with the researches because I need to communicate with people. This is my nature. I cannot really communicate only with the documents and doing paperwork or being on the computer. So the communication with people is really important. So this networking is my passion.
Yeah, I can see that you're enjoying it, and I've seen you both in the Bulgarian context and in the European one. And I remember the first time I entered the Bulgarian platform as an individual member, I realized that you're very motherly with everyone. Like you're very caring. You're very like you are actually caring. I could see that you care for the different people who are there, which is really nice, and it makes I think both of the networks alive when you have some like the leadership should be caring.
Yeah, I think so. This is part of the leadership. So if you want to be a leader, you have to care about people around you. You're together. You can if I'm alone, I'm leader of myself. What kind of leadership I have? What kind of leader I am? Yeah, but yeah. So my passion is to communicate with people and to make people happy.
Nice. That's a nice field then for you that you've chosen. Is there any
Without compromising myself, of course.
Oh, I remember that we started with the dignity.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should not compromise your dignity for anything.
Yeah.
I was thinking now when you were mentioning this expert task you had for the RFF, the next huge challenge for the new board and the new president will be trying to analyze the MFF. So another complicated abbreviature, but this is the multi-annual financial framework of the European Union.
Yeah.
Drink, yes. So
too long and a lot of money we need.
Yes. And I'm terrified that this new MFF will not be easy to analyze because we're hearing a lot of things on defense, rearm Europe. There is also some movements which are a bit on the periphery, but I'm also trying to follow on what type of encouragements the member states are getting from the Commission to spend more on this and less on that. So what type of gender analysis are you supposed to do when the new MFF comes? What are your hopes or your fears when it comes to the gender lens of the new financial framework?
So the money are important. Without money you cannot
Short
achieve.
and clear.
Yeah. Without money you cannot achieve anything. And the money for women have never been enough. Money for gender equality have never been enough. So this gender budgeting has never been actually accepted and implemented at the national level.
Mm-hmm.
In any countries, there were some attempts in some countries, but now in this new situation in Europe and globally, with this new very serious pushback and backlash against women's rights, the money are just, I'm afraid they'll disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right, there are recognized. There are another areas which are recognized as the most important, and I'm not saying that giving money for peace is not important. It is very important because the peace is very much connected to women, to children, to family, to human rights. But the problem is that when we are talking about money, who has to be given for an issue of peace, we are not putting women on the table.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about defense.
Yeah, we're actually not talking about money for peace. We're talking about
And this
money
is
for
and this
rearming.
is and this is serious problem.
And it's a huge difference. It's a
Yeah.
huge difference.
Yeah. And I'm sure if there are more women on the decision-making process, which are on the table for taking decisions about this terrible situation in Ukraine, in Afghanistan, in Sudan, in all these conflict areas and areas with war. And there are so many. If we have more women, the peace will come. And this is very important. And the money will be really focused on peace, not on militarization. And I know now the people who are listening this will say, yes, but we put so much money in the previous years in peace, demilitarization, and now see what's happened. So, but this is not the argument.
What's the argument?
The argument is we are all victim. Doesn't matter women or men. We are all victim of some wrong decisions taken by some crazy men who are on a high level political positions. So more women on high level. Equally. Men and women. And what we are now living with, because I think we are in some kind of war. So the war is in our next country, Ukraine. And everybody is talking about militarization, bomb, drones, this, that. So we live in some very strange time. And less and less women are involved in the political decision making. For the first time in 2024, after the European election, we have less women than ever. I mean, till 2024, the number of women elected in the European Parliament were always up, and now for the first time they decreased. And this has happened everywhere, even in countries where traditionally have. And for the first time, no, not for the first time, but now Bulgaria has only one woman on the ministerial position.
I think out of many, 40, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
1 out of 14 or out of 6.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of
And when this cabinet was Bulgarian cabinet was created and they started to functioning, and when I saw only one woman, and I was making
very bad picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Bulgarian platform immediately sent the open letter, and because of this open letter, asking what is giving this politician the right to ignore the women, because we are 51% and we vote for them. And we are not only voters. We have a right to be a decision makers also for our life. But what I did, I was making a research. And in the first
I'll tell you why I'm laughing later on. I'll tell you.
first cabinet, which was formed in 1945 during the communism, there was only one woman.
So this is it's a bad comparison, but it's a good data to have. I was laughing because I remembered, I smirked, I didn't laugh, but I remembered something. I don't know if you know, but some years ago, I think maybe 7 years ago or 8 years ago, I ran for a city council member. And it was it was a great experience. Obviously, I didn't get elected. I was, I think, less than 100 votes to get elected. I had a totally independent campaign, which I funded myself with 4 volunteers who stood on my board, because you need to run, you cannot just do it on your own like this. There was a party that I wanted to invite me, but they didn't. And I got an invitation by somebody that I didn't want to get invited. And I had to decide, like, do I really want to run? Because I was already working for 2 mandates, city council members. And I will tell you very honestly, as a citizen, I had a really high expectation to what a city council member should be and should do. A lot of the people that I met did not meet my own expectation. And I realized that maybe I'm not as unexperienced as I thought I am, and I should run. So I did. I did. What I was doing is I had an open campaign, like open to citizens, and I would have a flip chart. I was using my trainer's mindset. I had a flip chart and I was writing citizens' problem, trying to figure out a way to solve them on spot. Some of them were related to the government, and I was giving them direct feedback that this is not for the city council. But so many people would come and they would tell me things like, oh, you're such a young woman. Why would you bother with this? Why would you just not enjoy your family, and you have kids? And you should, I had a small baby, like you should just be with your baby and you should just take care of yourself. Why would you get in this toxic political sphere? Like even one person was not aggressive verbally, but all of them, all of the undertones was, you should not do this. You should really not do this. And then I have all of my friends who be like, yeah, go Maya, go Maya. But it was very funny that the most common feedback was, it's really not the place for like a young woman to be.
This is sexism. So the sexism could be very aggressive, violent sexism, and could be not aggressive, which sounds like somebody is taking care about you, which is called benevolent sexism, which is exactly what you experienced. This is like somebody is telling you, oh, my dear, you're driving such a big car, you cannot park it. Oh. You cannot park it.
Just have a cute pink car.
Yeah, because you're because you're a woman, cannot park. And this is the same. Go home, my dear, because you have a baby. Why you're bothered about the...
It's actually better for you to be at home.
Of course, this is for you. So this is the sexism, and we have to talk a lot about this, because this is one of the other barriers, really serious, which is stopping women to use their abilities. Because, my dear, you cannot park.
I want to recall now your political hat, because we are, even though you're not a president anymore, you're still a political figure in Bulgaria and in the European women's movement. There's 2 processes which are really interesting in the next few years, and it's the transpositioning of the directives. What do you see happening? Because we started to go shallowly around the sexist moods, the right-wing moods. So how are we going to transposition the gender pay gap directive, the equal pay directive, and women on boards directive in such a, let's call them dynamic times? How do you foresee this happening?
You're very diplomatic. Okay, dynamic times. Well, with all these far rights which are coming from all over the Europe. So let's see what's happened in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Romania was
On
managed
the
to,
edge.
oh, yeah, yeah. But Hungary, where is disaster, and many other countries. So I'm a pessimistic about the new legislation from at European level, which will really be passed in favor of gender equality and in favor of women's rights. So that's why we have to be really, first of all, we have to really be vocal, really vocal at European level, at national level, at local level, at grassroots level.
Mm-hmm.
This is first. The second, we have to be vocal together with another organizations, because many other groups of people in Europe, and not only in Europe, but we are in Europe now, are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to focus on some really organizations and individuals also, who are our allies, who are sharing the same values. We have to.
Mm-hmm.
Without this, we cannot achieve anything. And what is happening, it is very well organized. It is sponsored. This backlash is not accident coming from the air. No, no,
Yeah.
no. It is very well organized. There are a lot of money, a lot of money,
It's very well managed.
very well managed. They use the same narrative which we as feminist organizations are using, but they use the same narrative with another content.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just making people to see that, oh, there is something, they cannot realize what is happening at the beginning. So this is really important to be analyzed. And without huge coalition, we cannot achieve anything.
Hmm.
We must be focused also on some resilience plan. So to have some funding, which is not coming only from the European Commission, or not only from the European institution. So that's why if this podcast is, if we have some audience from funders, please focus on women's rights, because very soon the European Commission will cut at least half of the money from SERF program, from any other programs which are focused on the women's rights and gender equality. And please, dear funders, combine your efforts. You also have to be together. And let's forget about some issues which sometimes are dividing us. There are some philosophical discussion about this and that, and this is good to continue to discuss. But now this is the moment when we will lose everything, and that's why we have to be united.
What is your speaking about dividing and unionizing? I think that one of the problems in the feminist circles is the different things that are interesting for us, but there's also the intergenerational gap. And
Yeah.
I've been asking all of my guests for what do you want to have more from the next generation of feminists, but also how do you reach them? Because I think it is a two-way street. And I think that a lot of the dialogue within the feminist circles is broken due to different understandings on certain issues, different coalition buildings. It's very complicated. And the more you go as an expert in deep, the more you see the divisions, but I think that we are uniting against the wrong enemy in a way. So, what can we do about this?
Okay, so intergenerational approach. I'm very sad to watch some online and social media podcast and not yours. um, there is a trend in this social media which is bringing us back being a good wife.
The thread wife trends.
Yeah. And even very recently, I heard about Bulgarian woman. But yesterday, talking with my Portuguese colleague, and they said that the same case is in Portugal also, which means this is another trend. So, a Bulgarian young woman who is having some podcast telling that teaching men that it is very good and very nice from time to time to beat their wives.
I think I know who you mean, but it's very
It's
very scary.
terrible. It's scary. And I was thinking this is some kind of case in Bulgaria, only one. No, it is the same in Portugal. There is the same case, and maybe in another. So and this is a woman, and this is a young
Yeah,
woman,
she's quite popular.
and
She's a
she's
good influencer. Yeah.
she's influencing the public. So all these influencers, which are getting money because they're doing this for money. They're not doing because or having some popularity. I don't know if this particular woman is very happy to be beaten. This is personal decision. As we said in the Bulgarian legislation, and this is a standard, the victim should decide to ask for help if she feels as a victim. So this is personal decision. Maybe she likes to be beaten, but this is not 99.99% of the people who are enjoyed to be beaten. But she's looking for popularity and she's looking for some money. On the other hand, we have this manosphere, Andrew Tate, who is saying women are for being using for sex and nothing more. They deserve this. And all this young generation are listening this. And when I'm saying young generation, saying about 12, 13 years old young girls and boys. And at the same time, the porno is in their pocket. Anytime you can open your telephone and you can watch. So this is serious problem for the next generation. And the society, and the society and the institutions should be really careful and take immediate decision and action how to really bring us to the normality, because this is not normal.
Speaking about the next generation of feminists and the next generation as a general, what are your expectations and what are your hopes? How can you reach them with the messages that feminists have?
It's a very difficult question because the new generation is not homogenical. They're different. So we must have a different messages. My hope is that all the representative from the new generation will continue to work for being recognized as a human being.
The fundamental
Truths. Because this is what is important. We all are starting from here. I also hope that the new generation will put a lot of efforts not to forget that there were a time in the history when women didn't have a right to have a bank account, for example. And I'm sure the new generation, they don't know this. We must tell them. There was a time when women didn't have a right to work. And maybe it sounds very, how to say, abstract, but also for some women and girls, maybe it sounds a little bit fancy to stay at home and doing nothing, and then your husband is coming and the romantic is starting, and you're having a good dinner with wine and lights. But the reality is totally different, actually. If you are not economically independent, even your man is losing interest about you. Because when you are going and doing what you really want to do, working what you really want to work, or doing what you really can do, you are bringing another perspective on a table when you, together with your husband, are having your romantic dinner. You can communicate. Because can you imagine you're staying at home only. This is absolutely, you have to make a choice to stay at home or not to stay at home. But if you stay at home only and do only homework, and your husband or boyfriend or partner is going to work and meeting different people and having different life and different challenges and different problems, so his mind is open for different conversation, not only about what we are going to eat. So this is one of my message to young girls. Don't dream to be excellent cook or wife, because we are excellent only when we are ourselves.
I had a really interesting conversation with somebody. He's doing a course on intersectionality, and we also had a conversation about the threadwives and this trend of stay-at-home wives, stay-at-home girlfriends, the threadwife, the ballerina farm, all of these role models in brackets. And his point was really interesting to me because I never thought about it like that. You have, I'm sure, but that all of this, it is actually right-wing propaganda, because at the end of the day, it's about money and social systems. Because if you have more wives at home, that means less spending on education, social services, and healthcare, because this unpaid work is done by women staying at home. And to me, it's very obvious now when you hear it, and maybe to you it was very obvious many years ago. But to me, for a while, I was looking at this and I was like, I really don't understand it, because I do enjoy occasionally to cook and to do things. But it's not my passion to clean. It's a necessity I have accepted. Also, this necessity has been accepted by my husband.
Of course.
But it's not my passion. And I'm sure that maybe there is somebody whose passion this is, but I'm not sure how this is the majority of women. So it was really like, it was a bit of a dilemma to me. And when he put it in perspective, it's about social spending, it's about the social
money.
Contract, it's about the
money.
care deal, it's about money, it's about taxpayers' money.
Exactly.
And what do we want to do with it?
Yeah.
So it's sad that it's romanticized in such a way that it's about you being a good partner and you being a good woman, which is it's triggering just like a good woman. Now we should all not be good women. We should
What
misbehave.
does it mean? What means good woman?
Fulfilled woman. That's to me. That to fulfill your dreams for me.
Because I feel a very good woman, but it means that why I feel good woman, because I have my job, I have my passion. I'm sharing all the things I have to do at home with my husband. I teach my children to do so. Doesn't matter boys or girls. They have to know that we are all together in this house and we all together are making mess, and we all together should clean.
Yep.
So, and this is, I'm always saying, to be able to cook, to be able to clean the house, to be able to do laundry, this is a way of survive.
It's a life skill. It's not a
Yeah,
women's
you
job.
must.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must do this. You have to if you want to survive.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter woman or man.
I was thinking that I think many people had the expectation of AI and robots to be fulfilling these tasks rather than to create fake art.
Yeah.
And I think this is my disappointment with AI. If I have to
I'm
be
also
honest.
very much disappointed about this. I was expecting some robot, and I'm making my research, and I'm saying, okay, can you cook a banitsa, please?
Yes. Yeah. And it's not working well.
No.
If we need to get out of the humor about AI, is there any thoughts that you would like to share on this? Because we scratched a bit the cyber violence part,
Yeah.
but AI is a completely larger scale of
Yeah, it is. It
threats.
is, and we have to immediately, institutions and tech companies should immediately take a huge responsibility of what is happening in this AI. Because now we are witnessing a serious problems and violation. Everybody can take your face and make whatever he wants with your face. So we have to be really very careful now what we are sharing in online, which means that we are silencing ourselves. Because anytime when I want to share that yesterday we had a 35th anniversary of the European Women's Lobby, and I'm posting my picture, I know there is a risk. Everybody, everybody can take this picture and sharing my face with whatever he wants because of this AI,
Deepfakes,
and nobody will take responsibilities. It has happened with me several times to complain to Facebook years ago because of some attacks or some fake profiles which are starting to make some problems with my Facebook profile. It was starting actually at the moment I was elected as a president of the European Women's Lobby. I have never had a problem before. So maybe there is a connection. But Facebook said, sorry, we cannot help.
Yeah. Well, Meta has not really been the profile, like the good living proof of social corporate responsibility and women. So,
but tech companies are absolutely responsible for this.
I'm really afraid of the lack of clarity of what actually AI holds when it comes to gender equality, because I think there are different experiments that have proven in time how sexist and racist AI can be, because in a way it feeds from existing data, which is sexist and racist. So there is a lot of efforts that need to go there. And when we don't have enough women in tech, when we don't have women-owned companies, because I think that there is a huge difference of being an employee in a large company and being the owner or the shareholder in a tech company, because it really, you need to steer the way the company develops. And if you're not there when the decisions are taken and you're just an employee, you cannot safeguard anything. And I'm really sorry, because I know a lot of women are used as the badge of equality because they're the only woman in the team and they're asked to certify for things. And yeah, it's a lot of food for thought, and we need as EWL to have more in consideration and focus on the digital violence and the AI in the future. What else do you see in the future of EWL? What
the future of the EWL?
Yeah, the next 35.
The next 35. So my dream about the future of the EWL is that EWL will be recognized as an equal partner by any politician at European level, at national level also. My dream is that all the legislative acts which are under under preparation will be consulted with the women's organizations, because this is really important.
There is a lot to talk about, but we also need to wrap it up because you have your flight soon, and because we also need to have some dinner at some point.
Yes, I'm hungry already.
My last two questions are always the same, and it's what makes you hopeful and what makes you happy?
Actually, the fact that I can see so many women around me who are believing in the same values and principles which I believe is make me hopeful. And what makes me happy? A lot of things, of course. A lot of personal things are make me happy. I have a wonderful grandchildren also, and I'm looking forward to see them in July in my place. But also what I achieved coming from this small town in Bulgaria, born in socialistic, communistic time, and being a president of the European Women's Lobby is really something that makes me feel happy. I'm a happy woman.
Nice. You should be happy, and you are making people around you happy and empowering women by your example. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya, for inviting me. It's really pleasure. I hope you invite me again.
We'll see how this episode does. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for staying with us. This I don't know how much time we've been recording, but I think it's gonna be one of the longest episodes because there's so much to talk about. So I'm sure there is food for thought for at least 2 more editions of the same meeting. So thank you very much for sticking with us. You can follow Iliana on LinkedIn. You can check out the website of the lobby and see who the new president is and what their vision for development is. And in the meantime, you can like, subscribe, and agree or disagree in the comments with what we've been discussing. And it will be nice to see you around and discuss more about the EU and the leadership styles and everything wrong with it and everything that we're missing, but also everything that we bring to the table as women in decision making. So thank you very much, Iliana, for being my guest. And enjoy your freedom now, not being the president.
Yeah, I promise I'll do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.